Imagine a world fragmented into city-states, each one clinging to its independence like a toddler with a toy. These weren't the friendliest of neighbors. They fought. A lot. No one trusted each other, everyone wanted power, and the chaos was basically Mesopotamia's version of reality TV. But then came a man named Sargon. Not a prince, not a noble, just a guy with ambition, and apparently, a very persuasive resume. Because somehow, this one man didn't just play the game, he changed the rules entirely. Sargon was born around the 24th century BCE, and his origin story is the kind of thing ancient Netflix would have optioned. Legend says his mother placed him in a basket and floated him down a river. Sound familiar? Yes. It's suspiciously Moses-esque. Raised by a gardener, he eventually got a job as a cupbearer to the king of Kish. But serving wine clearly wasn't enough for Sargon. He overthrew the king and declared himself ruler. And then, like any overachiever, he decided ruling one city wasn't enough. He wanted them all. Within years, he launched a military campaign that swallowed city after city, like Pac-Man gobbling up dots. Only instead of dots, it was entire cultures. Once he had enough territory to make even modern mapmakers sweat, Sargon needed a central hub. So he founded the city of Akkad. Sounds simple, right? Just found a city. But Akkad wasn't just a capital. It was the beating heart of a brand new empire. Under Sargon's control, the Akkadian Empire sprawled from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea. That's a lot of land, and a lot of angry former rulers. To manage it, Sargon deployed governors he could trust. Think medieval middle managers with a sword, and implement standardized systems of weight, measures, and administration. Bureaucracy, baby, the true tool of the empire. Akkad wasn't just about size, it was about stability. Sargon understood that conquering people was one thing, getting them to follow your rules was another. So he unified the empire not just with swords, but with systems. He created a postal service. Yes, really. In 2300 BCE, this man was worried about snail mail. He also imposed taxes, drafted armies, and even ensured that his own daughters held powerful religious posts, including one who became the high priestess of the moon god. Who said nepotism was a modern invention? But Sargon wasn't all war and spreadsheets. He also knew the power of culture. Before him, Sumerian was the dominant language of Mesopotamia. But under Sargon, Akkadian became the official language, spoken across the empire. This linguistic unity helped bridge divides and streamline communication. More importantly, it solidified the identity of a people who had, until then, mostly just been bickering neighbors. His rule saw the production of literature, administrative texts, and art that mixed traditions from both Sumerian and Akkadian origins. Imagine trying to run a company where everyone speaks a different language, uses a different calendar, and reports to a different boss. That was Mesopotamia before Sargon's cultural consolidation. But by blending traditions and promoting a shared identity, he turned the empire into something cohesive. And while that sounds like a history teacher's dream, it was also incredibly strategic. A unified culture is harder to divide and easier to control. Sargon wasn't just building an empire, he was building a legacy. Of course, not everyone was thrilled about this. Maintaining control over such a vast area wasn't exactly a walk in the hanging gardens. The further from Akkad, the weaker Sargon's grip became. Rebellions flared up like whack-a-moles. In one campaign, Sargon reportedly crushed uprisings in every corner of his empire. Was it all true? Maybe not. Ancient kings had a habit of exaggerating. But one thing's for sure, ruling wasn't peaceful. It was a constant battle to keep things from crumbling. Still, the empire stood. And the model he created, central control, local governors, loyalty through culture, would inspire countless rulers for centuries to come. Even as challenges mounted, Sargon showed a knack for adapting. Instead of retreating or walling himself inside a fortress, he pushed harder, launched fresh campaigns, reasserted dominance. The message was clear: don't test the guy who took down a king and built a civilization from scratch. Despite droughts, rebellions, and rival cities plotting revenge, the Akkadian Empire held strong through his reign. It was only after his death that things got messier. As we all know, empires are only as strong as the person holding them together. And yet Sargon's legacy didn't die with him. Far from it. His dynasty continued for several generations. His grandson Naram-Sin even declared himself a god, a move that made other rulers look modest in comparison. But even as the empire eventually fractured, the idea of empire itself had been born. Sargon's blueprint, conquest, administration, cultural unity, became the gold standard for millennia. From Babylon to Rome to, yes, even modern bureaucracies, echoes of Akkad lived on. The empire may have faded, but the empire idea? That was immortal. Here's what makes Sargon so remarkable. Before him, the idea of a unified state stretching across hundreds of miles simply didn't exist. Cities ruled themselves, occasionally traded or warred, but no one thought you could manage them all from one seat of power. Sargon not only thought it, he did it. And he didn't do it with magic or divine intervention, though he certainly claimed the gods were on his side. He did it with logistics, strategy, propaganda, and sheer audacity. So, who was Sargon really? A warlord, a unifier, a myth maker? Probably all of the above. What we know is pieced together from inscriptions, legends, and the ruins he left behind. But that's part of what makes him so fascinating. He's half fact, half fable. Like a Mesopotamian King Arthur who swapped a sword for a scepter and made history instead of poetry. And while we can't be sure how much of his story is real, we can be absolutely certain of the impact he left. Think about it. How many people in history can claim they invented the idea of empire? Not inherited, not reformed, but invented. Before Sargon, there were kings. After Sargon, there were emperors. And that shift in thinking changed everything. The rise of imperial structure laid the foundation for thousands of years of civilization, for better or worse. And it all started with one man, one city, and one very ambitious plan. If you found this story as wild and fascinating as we did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We'll keep diving into history's strangest, boldest, and most misunderstood characters, just like Sargon. Because sometimes, the most powerful people in history started with nothing, except a dream and a whole lot of nerve.